Good morning, everyone. We have our guest chef, our first one of the semester, Chef Randall Perez, aka Cyrus. I've worked with Chef for 18 years. I've known him for 18 years, and we've worked at various kitchens in LA. But Chef has really gotten some really good skills. Been at really good places. He also has a pop-up pizzeria that he's doing out of the valley. That wood burning oven, just really good stuff. So we'll put up some links if you guys want to follow him on Instagram and so on. But today, what we're going to focus on is a Moroccan sausage known as Merguez. And it's a really delicious sausage that you can serve, you know, as we're going to do today, very simply, with some grilled bread that was made in-house here with a wild yeast starter. We're going to put that on the grill, some whole grain mustard, and then this sausage making process has a few different steps. So what we're going to do is first talk about the spice mixtures. Recipe is going to be uploaded for you later today. And what we have is a leg of lamb that has been cubed up and diced. And when you're making sausage, of course you need a grinder, and you really want to have your equipment very cold as you possibly can get it. So the lamb has been cubed up, and you want to have a good mixture. Think about it as a hamburger with 80% lean, 20% fat. You want to have a good mixture of lean to fat ratio so that you have some flavor, you have some moisture that is maintained in that sausage, and it's just going to make an overall really tasty finished sausage. So Merguez sausage is one that's going to have various spices. We have cumin that we're using today. We have some cayenne, paprika, oregano, onions, and garlic. We have just a really nice aromatic sausage that we're going to make. So hopefully you guys can follow along with the different camera angles that we have. And the first thing that we need to do after we dice our lamb is to freeze it. And so the seasonings that you put in there, you can do in with the lamb after it's been kept really cold. And when you put it through the grinder, all of those seasonings will be mixed in more evenly, more uniformly. So we have our grinder that's already set up. We have our lamb, which we have a good range of fat that's been introduced. We can also use this. So there's our lamb, and we're gonna go ahead and season it first, Chef.
Yeah, typically when I make sausage, I like to season my meat before I freeze it. This way it's kind of like marinating it. In this case, with the time limit we have, we're going to do it right now before we grind it. And hopefully we get as much flavoring in as we should. The seasonings we have right here, I'm putting in pepper. You have the recipe. It's 2 tablespoons, mostly of everything. A little bit of less of the coriander and other like cayenne. We don't want it too spicy. We're also making it with hog casings today. Typically it's made with lamb casings, so lamb inside of lamb.
Lamb casing.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, so we are making it traditionally with lamb casings, which is awesome. So we're excited about that. So I put in the oregano, the pepper, the cayenne. Right now we're going to put in the cumin. We're going to evenly distribute it all over right now, and then we'll mix it by hand before we put it in the grinder. And in this recipe we're going to do an emulsification on it. The recipe that you have, that Chef is going to give you, doesn't have paprika in it, but Chef likes paprika, and we're going to change the recipe for him a little. So you can do it traditionally the way the recipe tells you, or you can switch it up. And just like any sausage, as you make it and you get better with it, you can add your own ingredients and make your own sausage. Call it whatever you want. It doesn't have to be Merguez. Whatever your name is, make a new sausage up. So we're gonna mix this up by hand real quick. and get it as much evenly distributed amongst the meat itself. And then we'll grind it through a medium, the medium die. And then from that, we're gonna do an emulsification. We're gonna take half of it and put it in the kitchen aid with the paddle attachment. And we're gonna whip it a little with some ice cold water. And that's gonna add some texture to it, and also give it, and then we're gonna mix it with the other half that's just grinded. So when we mix it, it's gonna have a blend of textures, and it's gonna get a really good emulsification.
Can you talk about emulsification, Chef? What that means for a sausage?
It just means that we're gonna blend the two textures so that when they come together, it's a firm sausage. And when we mix it in the paddle, you're getting that like gummy texture, so that when you mix the two together, the sausage stays together. So when you're eating it, it's not gonna crumble and fall apart. You're gonna get a nice, smooth, like pate type of sausage inside. So the emulsification is good. Some sausages don't add emulsification because you want that certain structure in your sausage, like a more rustic sausage. You know, like blood sausage certainly doesn't have that much texture, except for like the onions that you put in it and other stuff. So we're gonna start grinding. We're gonna leave the parsley out until after we grind. We're gonna throw the garlic in because we don't want the parsley to turn black on us from the heat from the machine. I don't know how much paprika Chef put in here, but I put a half of whatever he gave us. And then we'll see how it tastes, and we'll adjust it if we need to. And just like your recipe, adjust it, taste it before you case it. Make sure you cook it, a little piece, a little patty. Give it to your dog, give it to yourself, whichever. We're gonna start grinding right now. So we're gonna grind on the medium die, like I said. And then from there, we're gonna go into the KitchenAid to emulsify.
So what we have so far is some cumin, sugar, coriander, cayenne, and paprika. We also have garlic, which is a variable, and we have one onion that's been finely diced and then sauteed. Salt is also a variable, and so this is one thing that when making sausage, sometimes it's a really good idea to, after grinding, do a little patty, do a little tester. Then you can begin to see, you know, where your seasoning is, if you need to adjust. Once it's in the casing, then it's too late. So, as Chef said, taste before you case.
Hey, that should be on the shirt. Let's market that one. All right, if you want to turn that on for me, Chef, and we'll start doing this little by little. And the reason you freeze your meat, because it has fat, and as the machine heats up, the fat starts to congeal and it makes it hard for it to come out.
It's been a while.
But you see the nice color as it's grinding, because you got the paprika in there, so it's giving the meat a really nice red texture. Get those onions, Chef, and throw them in here too, please. Throw them off?
Yeah. So I'm starting to put layers of onion in there. So as we're putting in some of the meat, we're going to go ahead and start to incorporate those onions that have been sauteed, as well as about 4 garlic cloves. And what we're starting with right now is 8 pounds of lamb. So we use the entire leg, an 8-pound leg of lamb. And essentially it's almost like a Moroccan chorizo. So you want to begin to incorporate the onions. You can put them in raw if you want to. but softening them up adds a little bit more flavor. It also is a little bit more gentle when you're actually putting it in the casing. So depending on the type of sausage that you're making, for this particular sausage, we're going to leave it a little bit more coarse than you might get it typically. But what you're going to use when using your grinder is what we call a die. And the die is going to come in different size holes. So generally you're going to go through the largest one first, and then depending on the sausage you can choose a die that's much smaller, and then that's going to give you different texture obviously. But what you want to make sure is that you run it through and that your ingredients in there are not hard to the point where it's gonna tear the casing when you're stuffing it.
So here's our grind meat. We're gonna put it in this hotel pan to mix it a little better, get everything really incorporated. At this point too, we're gonna add some parsley. We're gonna mix it all together, and then we're gonna taste the seasoning real quick before we do the emulsification on it and everything like that. Like Chef said, your recipe asks for 10 pounds. We only had 8 pounds, so we're as far as the seasoning, I put everything in it. I don't think it's gonna make that big of a difference. I left some of the salt out, obviously, because it was salt for 10 pounds of meat. So we're just gonna mix this up by hand real quick. We don't want to do too much incorporating with our own hands, because we're gonna mix it again in the KitchenAid real quick, just for a second with some ice cold water, just to get it emulsified. So we're gonna take half of this, that's coarse grind, and we're gonna put it in the KitchenAid with a little bit, with a paddle and a little bit of ice cold water. If you could give me some ice cold water, Chef, I'd appreciate that. But before we do any of that, we're gonna cook off a little piece and taste the seasoning of it.
You could probably start emulsifying, Chef, or no?
Yeah, here, you wanna put that on for me real quick? And
what's the ice water for?
ice water is, the coldness from the ice water helps the fat from all the meat congeal more, and when it's turning, it somewhat makes like a glue to give it like a consistency like slime, I would say. So we're gonna put this in. We're gonna put our KitchenAid together, make sure it's secure. And sometimes you could do it like this. It depends on how fine you want it to be. I don't want to change too much of the texture of the meat. Some people would put it in the Roboku with ice cubes to do their emulsification. I just think for this sausage it'll be too fine. So right here we're just gonna turn this on little by little, the slow temp. We're gonna add just a little bit. It's okay if you get a little bit of ice in it. It's all gonna melt. And once it's done, I don't know if you can see into it, into the machine. We're just basically mixing it together. It's getting a good whip. And in a little bit, I'm gonna whip it on a higher speed. Need salt? Okay. Chef tasted it, he said we need salt. Basically for this, it's maybe about 3 tablespoons of ice water. And I'll show you the consistency of what it looks like when we get it out of there, and how different it'll look from what the grind is that we started off with. So you see how it's all congealed, all incorporated more. It's more fluffy, it's more smooth. As from when the grind, straight out of the grind, you can see the textures, the chunks from like the different size die that we used. So this way, when we mix the meat together, it'll have like smooth textures and grainy textures to give you mouthfeel. Because for this type of sausage, where it's mostly eaten like by itself or like with bread, so that's the kind of texture that I would want. A more meatier type of body sausage. So as you can see, it's more congealed, more coagulated. It's sticking together. It's kind of like dough when you barely mix it and it's stuck onto the mixing. So we're gonna take the half. And we're gonna mix them both together. And then this is gonna be the texture of our sausage that we're gonna put in the press. And Chef already added some salt and a little bit more. He went all crazy on the paprika. So,
Is that enough?
yeah. Well, you have coarse salt, so it's not. I'm gonna check the patty, make sure we got the consistency. Give me like 2 seconds, so I'll be back. And then from here, we're gonna go to stuffing, putting it in the press, and stuffing the sausage. And I know some of you don't have a sausage press at your house. You can also make your own with a gallon milk jug. Just cut it in half and put the casing on the mouthpiece of the gallon jug. Hold it with the handle, and have your partner or your significant other or someone who really likes you help you make the sausage. I'm gonna toast the middle seeds real quick. We're gonna crush them with the pan, and then we're just gonna add it to it, and we should have what we're looking for.
When you get merguez, the heat is something that sometimes you get them really spicy, really hot, but that's a variable. If you really like cumin, put more cumin in there. If you're a fan of fennel, toast some fennel, add that to it. What we have is cayenne, but you can also use some dried chilies. And this is, again, it's very similar to a chorizo. If you have some dried arbol chilies, you can toast those, blend it up with the other spices, and then just give you something that's got a little bit more of a punch. If you're gonna hold this for extended periods of time, you're gonna see in the recipe, it calls for curing salt, which is also known as pink salt. And that is what you're gonna find in a lot of sausages, a lot of smoked meats. And what that does is essentially, it makes sure that there's no bacteria that's gonna be in there. It also gives it a very nice color. Whenever you get sausage, if you see it's got sort of a pink hue, that's a result of the pink salt. And also, it's going to prevent your sausage from oxidizing or turning brown, turning an off color after it's been made. So we're not going to put the pink salt. It's sort of a controversial ingredient because it's, you know, a very old process making charcuterie. It's one of those things that, you know, isn't recommended in large amounts, but a little bit of pink salt really goes a long way. So we're leaving it out just to keep it on the safer side. Essentially, nitrates, just like any smoked deli meat or charcuterie, in large amounts isn't the best for us. But merguez sausage is.
I added some more salt. We added 2 tablespoons of fennel whole seed. I like fennel whole, so when you crunch into it, it kind of breaks up. You get more of the flavor. But you can also process it a little if you don't like big chunks of fennel. So we should be okay. So when you're stuffing the thing, you want to make sure you stuff it and push the meat down so you get no air pockets, so you don't get those bubbles in your sausage. It's been a long time since I've been in the kitchen because of quarantine, so bear with us. Okay, I believe I got it all pressed out, Chef. Go for it, Chef.
So what we're gonna serve this with is just some bread that was made in-house by Chef True, and he's using a wild yeast starter. So this is just like a big, beautiful country loaf. It's very dense, so you know, it's gonna be perfect for this. So if you go to Europe and you get merguez, you're gonna find it, you know, with just some bread, some whole mustard, and it's just excellent. Like a really delicious hot dog you can make with it. So we're gonna go ahead and take some of this bread, and it's very heavy, but we're gonna put it on the grill and just get a really nice char on it, so that when our sausage is ready, we can grill that as well, and then put the put the recipe together.
So right now we're gonna press down, we're going slowly, and then we're gonna press the sausage just till it comes out the end of the horn. This way, and then we'll move the sausage, we'll tie it. This way we guarantee that we don't have no air in the casing. There we go. Most of you at home don't have a table this big. If you're gonna make it at your house, you always wanna have like a wet surface, I find, so that where you're doing it and the sausage comes out, it slides easily and you're not like getting it because you know it's skin. So we're gonna pour a little bit of water on here, and as it pipes out, we'll coil it up, and we'll make some sausage links later, I guess. So as you can see, we got the sausage barely coming out of the horn. We're gonna pull some of this casing out. We'll make our knot. We'll wet the casing a little. So, as you're coming and you're pushing down, you want to glide it out. Keep your hand kind of on it. Keep the sausage tight as it's coming. And usually we go a little faster, but I'm doing it solo. So we're going slow. It's also good for your visual. Chef, you want to come and help me real quick so we can, you want to bust it out and I'll pull the, just real slow as it goes. So as you can see, it's coming out and you have air bubbles, and we'll pop those later on as before we make the links. You can go a little bit faster. And having the water on it makes it easier to like move around and help you. So this is 10 pounds of sausage. Well, this is 8, so we'll see how many links you get. You know, throw a barbecue one weekend. Start your own little Merguez burgers. It's good to learn all these different sausages because, you know, when you get into the industry, there's no guarantee that you're going to learn a lot of these things. A lot of the things that I've learned over the years, I've taught myself because most of the restaurants you work in are French, Italian, or some of that. Or at least that's what I spent most of my career in. And we're almost done. And that's it. So we'll come right here, we'll push it. Chef had a knife, but I think I lost it. There we go. So there we have it. Merguez. There's a couple air pockets, but we'll take care of those. We'll pop them right now, and then if we link it, it'll just get tight, and the air will push out through the little hole as you go. But I like it like this. If I was gonna have it for a party or throw a party, I would leave it like this and then just cook it over the grill in this big old coil, and then cut pieces off, and people can eat it with bread or whatever. Merguez made a big push back into society in the early like 2000s. A lot of French chefs started using it.
It's not something that you want to overcook, so boiling them kind of gives you that sort of head start.
So every other one just the opposite way.
Chef, these are snacks. You want to start dropping some on the grill or what?
Yeah.
You sealed this?
Yeah, that one's sealed. Not bad for I haven't made sausage in like 5 years, bro.
I haven't made sausage in so long.
That's when the best things happen.
Hey, but you know what? Like, you just fall into place like riding a bike. As soon as you start, you're like, oh yeah.
When I was barely
You
cooking,
did most of the work,
this
though.
is what this is like my spare time. I used to love making sausages. And then I said, oh, we can make Merguez, and then he was like, all right, that's it. So I cook these really low because they have fat in them from the lamb, and it's gonna blaze up. That's why a lot of people boil them for a little bit to kind of get all that fat out of them. So when you do grill them or you cook them, they're not like flaming up and charring. It's like you're watching them on YouTube or whatever on Netflix. How many of them do you think are gonna make it? So we're back. We finished cooking them. We cut one in half. You can see the texture of it inside. Show the juices. We're gonna do a simple classic pairing. Just some bread, some whole grain mustard. If we had like some pickled chilies, that'd be good on it. A little bit of grilled onions, maybe.
Maybe some pickled radishes from the garden.
Oh, that would be good too.
This is the way. This it doesn't get any better than this, right? Bread that was made from our amazing pastry team, Chef True, wild yeast. Sausage that was made from start to finish this morning. Again, taking your time with it. Making sausage it's a lot of fun, and you know, it's an art form. So take your time with it. This was just this was our first demo with a guest chef. So Chef's Table, if you're listening, Netflix, this video is for your
purchase.
consideration.
For
yes,
purchase.
and available. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. And
Contact our talent agents.
yes, if you have any questions, you know,
Want to book us for parties?
exactly. Thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Big ups to Chef
Thank you guys for watching me.
Randall. Check out his pop-up, his pizzeria, Backyard Boogie Pizzeria, and hopefully he can come back and do a demo.
Yeah.